Hello everybody. Today we're going to learn how to edit attributes in drawings and how to edit existing objects. And the drawing that we're going to use as a sample is this megalith.fr drawing, which I'll double click on and off in this map display. And that's being shown as a layer in a map over top of this Google satellite image layer that provides satellite backdrops. Now what this megalith.fr drawing shows is it shows color-coded by dots and size of dots the location of thousands of Neolithic monuments in France. These are stone constructions that were created from, say, 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. That, believe it or not, there's really that many of them in France, and many of them are what we see here was called a dolmen. Now, what a dolmen is it's an emissary from 4,000 to 6,000 years ago, which is kind of a stone chamber that's constructed with this flat rock at the top called a table rock. That's perched on top of 3 to 4 vertical supports like this to create a sort of a stone chamber. And this is a fairly average sized dolmen. It's about, the table rock is about 2 meters, that is about 6 feet across. So it's not a particularly large one, but it's fairly average size, and there's hundreds and hundreds of these all over France, as you can see from that drawing, from the drawing in the map. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to click back here. I had previously zoomed into this area here to look at this particular dolmen that's marked with this little magenta dot. We're going to take a look at this in greater detail, and this appears to be, the dot appears to be mispositioned because the dot here is shown actually out here in the field, and there's obviously no dolmen at that location shown by Google satellite view. Whereas here in this wooded area that's kind of marked off in the field, in the wooded area there is what is very clearly what seems to be a classic overhead view of a dolmen, or at least the remnants of a dolmen, that are these giant flat rocks that are there in the wooded area. So what we're going to do in this example, in this video, is first we're going to take a look at the data attributes, the data fields for this particular dolmen, to see what sort of information we have on it. And then we're going to move it from this incorrect location to that correct location. Okay, notice here we're in the project pane, we're not in the contents pane. We're going to alt-click on this, and notice here that the drawing that we want to work with is the active drawing. If we alt-click into something other than the active drawing, it's not going to help us. We click into the active drawing. So we alt-click onto that dot, and immediately the system switches to the contents pane, the record panel, and the values tab of the record panel. And that shows us the attribute values for this particular dolmen. By the way, what we're working with here is Manifold Future. This will work exactly the same way in the free Manifold Viewer edition that is Future Viewer. And this is all using Radiant technology, so it's all parallel Radiant technology. But for now, we're just playing around with the editing. If we look at the fields here, we can right-click on any of these fields, and if we like, we can copy, paste, delete, edit. Deleting a field simply means turning into null, and it's shown there in blue preview color. If we don't want to commit that, we just control backspace, and that abandons any change. In this case, what we like to do is we like to take a look at the description field here. So we're going to right-click on that and choose Edit. The Edit dialog is a way of letting us read larger text than will fit into a simple cell. And what this particular text tells us is that this particular dolmen is located about 1 kilometer north of Utahville, and the table rock is 3.3 meters in size, which makes it a pretty good-sized dolmen. It's larger than average. So the table rock is about 10 feet across. There's many tons. And it is lying next to a few fallen verticals. So it's not a nicely and neatly structured dolmen like we've seen before. This is one that's collapsed. And what we're going to do is we're going to add additional text to that. I'm going to out of view of the video, I'm going to copy some text from a different website, and then I'm going to come back here, enter, and click Control-V to paste that text. And this provides additional description for this particular dolmen from another website, a French website that talks about the various dolmens that are in this region. If you don't read French, it's just basically saying, giving the local legend of the giant gargantua, that passing on his way through here, he was juggling with these rocks to amuse himself to pass the time. So we're going to add that text. I'm going to click OK. And as before, this is shown in preview. Radiant technology products like Manifold Future try to preview any changes. They want to show you a preview so that if you want, you can abandon it with a control click, and if you desire you want to commit that change, you can just click Update Record, and now that change is committed. If we click the Open Edit Dialog, again, we see that the text indeed has been committed. Okay, great. Now, how do we move this point? So far, this point is not enabled from motion. If we click on it and try to drag it and drop it anywhere, we just simply end up panning the view. And that's a safety measure. We want the ability to be able to alt-click on an object like we've alt-clicked here, and to be able to read the data attributes for it without having to worry about accidentally changing it or reshaping it if it's a line or an area. To enable it for editing, we click on the Coordinates tab. And that does two things. The first thing is it displays the coordinates for this point. And the second is that over here it changes the marker for that chosen point from the small blue dot to a larger blue square, which indicates it is now enabled for editing. If this were a line or an area that we were editing, instead of having just this one row of coordinates here marking a single location, there would be many rows of coordinates that mark all the different locations for the vertices that define the line or the area. To move it, it's as simple as clicking and dragging it. So we click and drag the point from here to there. And that's where we propose to put it. As before, even though there's a change in geometry, Manifold is going to show us this as a preview. It shows us the new coordinates for this square right here in blue preview color. It hasn't committed the move yet. If we want, we can control backspace and that'll abandon the move. And it'll snap back to this dot right there. But we're going to commit the edit. We're going to go ahead and click this Update Record button, and that commits the edit, and right away, boom, the point jumps from here where it used to be to there to the new location. If you look at the new coordinates, we see that those are indeed the locations for that spot that where we dragged it and dropped it to being right on top of the dolmen. If we don't want that little blue dot in there, that shows where we can zoom in here, that shows that marks the object we've selected. We can just alt-click anywhere here outside of the dot, and that'll clear the little blue dot and also clear the record values. If you want to see what the values are again for that record, the attributes, we can alt-click it and the attributes will appear again. So there you go. We have seen how we can see the attributes for a particular object. We can see how we can edit those attributes. We can see how, using Control Backspace, we can abandon an edit or commit it by pressing Update Record. We've also seen how we can choose an object for editing and then enable it for editing by clicking the Coordinates tab here, and that by doing so we enable it for dragging, dropping, and other mouse moves for moving it around in the map display as we see fit. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is a simple demo, but it shows how quick and simple and easy the various editing tools are in Manifold for either viewing attributes or for editing geometry. So goodbye from Radianland. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.